The horses are like big dogs.
So I'm sitting here talking about my new book, Convulsion, which is my term for what the United States goes through about every 80 years. And we're headed through one right now that has 5 parts. It has a 400-year-old racial problem. It has a climate disaster. It has a COVID-19 natural disaster. It has a political disaster. And it has there's got to be another disaster in here someplace. Financial, political, the natural disaster, the climate disaster, and the racial disaster. The problem with the convulsions is that they usually come with big wars. King Philip's War, the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, World War II and the Depression. We'll be really lucky if we get through this convulsion without a major war, because it's also happens to be coincidental with the next great price collapse. David Hackett Fisher pointed out in his book, The Great Wave, Price Revolutions in the Rhythm of History, the first great price collapse was in 1348, when approximately half of the population of Europe perished in the Black Death. They're uncertain about the exact number because people didn't keep good records then. Some people say it was only 40%, some people say it was as much as 60%. And in fact, the closer to the Mediterranean you got, the higher the death rate. In Scandinavia, northern Germany, England, it was probably a little less. Prices collapsed then. They collapsed again at the Renaissance. They collapsed in 1815 at basically the end of what was the Revolutionary War, the end of the War of 1812. Also coterminous with Wellington's victory over Napoleon at Waterloo. And they've been trying to collapse in this country since 1985 with the Plaza Accords. The Reagan administration dragged the Japanese to New York, and they made a deal to make the dollar weak and the yen strong. The Japanese took this information back to Nichigin, the national bank in Japan, borrowed money at 0%, 1%, 2%, took it to Europe and the United States, lent it for 6 and 8%, took the spread back to Japan, and treated it as if it was earned income. They referred to it as the bubble economy. In 1989, on the last day of the year, Nichigin, the national bank of Japan, took the props out from under them and said, we can't do this anymore. And the Japanese have been in the depression ever since. Their term for it is Fukyo. We're in a depression, which means a superabundance of capacity. We got all these factories and they're making too much. We make too many cars, too many appliances, too many computers, cameras, automobiles, refrigerators. And what really needs to be done is the 6 billion people on the planet who aren't participating in the economy, who don't have floors in their houses or potable water or any education system to speak of or any healthcare systems. Those are the people that we need to be helping. Meanwhile, the police, I always thought the police, they should probably shoot a half dozen unarmed white men and then take the racial problem out of the police brutality problem. But the problem with that was they couldn't find 6 unarmed white men in the United States, so there was nobody to shoot. It is a great pity, the things that the black Americans have put up with all these years. But I'm bullish on Biden-Harris. I think they're going to run the table. I was holding out. If he had to pick a black woman, why not Dennis Rodman? And then Dennis Rodman could go to Korea and make peace with Kim Jong-un. But we'll do what we can with what we got. I think Harris is a great choice because she's from California. You may notice, those of you who know a little history, that the Republicans have elected 3 presidents from California: Hoover, Nixon, Reagan. Have the Democrats ever nominated anybody from California? No. They had a chance twice to nominate Jerry Brown, who's one of the absolute best public administrators in American history, completely pragmatic, not ideological at all, just wants to get the work done. He managed to turn California away from the Reaganites, and now it's 2/3 Democratic, just because he makes sense. He's like the Angela Merkel of California. Well, it's a tough gig. The political problem, boy. Well, we'll get rid of the Orange Menace right away. You know, he's only got about 80 days. Around the world in 80 days with David Niven and the Orange Menace. We'll see if he can avoid starting a great war before he gets out of office. And whether they have to come and get him or whether he goes voluntarily, we're never going to be rid of him because he's still going to be able to appeal to the 40% of the population who thinks, you know, they could drink Lysol and cure a disease or something like that. You know, I mean, the thing those people believe. The problem with the belief system in this country is that I'm under the impression that 80% of the population is nominally Christian. Now, if you could believe that, you could believe anything. You know, I mean, look at the basis. You know, I mean, Jesus was the only perfect politician, and he didn't get any traction until he had to come back to life. You know, I mean, what? You know, how can people believe that? It buggers my mind. I can't. I don't believe it but I'm a yoga. I got certified, by the way, to become I'm a certified yoga master. This morning I did mariachi asana, Ardha Chandrasana. I did about 10 reps of Shirshasana cycle that I got out of BK Iyengar. You know, it's you have to live in the real world. Facts have to matter to somebody. They matter to what's going on because the facts are going to solve the situation. If you're on the right side of the facts, you have a chance to succeed. If you're on the wrong side of the facts, no amount of theological help is going to do you any good because it's bogus. I could say bullshit, but somebody would say, wait a minute, that's hate speech. You hate cattle? You know why? You know? Well, welcome to the convulsion. It'll be on a bookshelf near you or at Amazon before you know it, and it will, you know, it's like my old book, How the South Finally Won the Civil War and Controls the Political Future of the United States. There have been 80,000 books written about the Civil War, but mine is the only one you need. That's good.
Convulsion.
Knock it off.